have I acquired enough Bitcoin that will be able to buy me 10 houses? People are barely saving money. People are struggling to get by. What's the option to get Bitcoin exposure for the people that are on really tight budgets? And I mean really tight. So the real metric of whether I'm growing my wealth, I should be measuring it in the hardest, scarcest, most durable asset in the world, and that's Bitcoin.
Than never. Okay, guys, we are here with the Daily Bitcoin Podcast. Sorry, we are late. I am on the road, and I just got off my exit to charge my Tesla, and I'm such a proud owner of Tesla.
Through thick and thin.
For those Tesla haters, I think my fellow Tesla Bitcoiners, they got my back. But all right, so I do have a special guest today, third time.
It's number 3.
This is number 3. Okay, you're a regular now. You got to come on like at least monthly, maybe weekly.
I'm all for it.
All right, so Morgan Stuart, one of my friends that I met at the Bitcoin meetup Baton Rouge. Thank you, Mark, for putting on that event and bringing us together. Probably would have never met Morgan had Mark not started the longest running Bitcoin meetup in the state of Louisiana, the Proof of Drink. I'm sure everybody at Proof of Drink is watching this special episode, 3rd edition, part 3, with Morgan Stuart. How'd your week go so far?
Oh, it's been great. I've been cooking up some great ideas for you here. I've just been really excited to get back on the show.
Man, you do have some great ideas here. You're teaching me on some of this stuff because I have not thought about. I'm too busy talking about Bitcoin and not busy enough stacking sats. But I can see you're like focused on getting more, which is what my audience needs. So shout out to Peter if you're listening to this. I did an interview with in his city today, and I told him about Bitcoin. He's in Parks and Rec.
Oh, that's great.
He's already come in nicely, much nicer than I did when I first heard about it. So it goes to show you don't have to know so much about Bitcoin. You just got to know somebody that's crazy about Bitcoin and just trust them. That's all you need to do is trust your crazy Bitcoin friends.
Just got to get one foot in the water.
One crazy Bitcoin friend is the only friend you need. You're one friend away from being super wealthy. So trust your Bitcoin friends. All right. So what do you have going for us today? You got something special cooked up.
Yeah, today. So my idea was more along the lines of if Saylor could have a Bitcoin yield as the key performance metric for his company, why don't we do that as individuals as well? So if you step back for a second and say, if you understand that Bitcoin has been the best performing asset for the last 14 of 15 years, price growth has averaged 60% per year since 2011. The returns are double the Mag 7 tech stocks. We're outpacing inflation by 5 to 6x. And not to mention, whenever you start to measure Bitcoin in terms of your purchasing power, like you mentioned this past week on your Facebook, and I went and looked up. Now that one of my favorite sites priced in Bitcoin has been unfortunately down lately.
Oh no!
Yeah, they've lost a source of funding to get all the data feeds to measure absolutely everything priced in Bitcoin. So I had to go pull an old chart off of a website called BitBo, and it's apparently a Bitcoin monitoring website. The median U.S. house price in 2015, for the quarter 1 2015, was 1,152 Bitcoin. It dropped all the way down to 39.7 Bitcoin in 2020. And as of Q3 of 2024, the median U.S. house price is down to 6.89 Bitcoin. Gee, I wonder where that's going. Where does that trend look like it's leading you?
It's looking like they're going to be handing out houses for just a few sats. I think in the future.
The trend's definitely in your favor. So you save in Bitcoin, your ability to buy a house is constantly going up. And so the idea that people have trophy properties, you could point to, oh, I got this house over here. It's in that perfect location, or I have the best house in this city, or the fanciest house here. What you should really be looking at is, have I acquired enough Bitcoin that will be able to buy me 10 houses in the future? Because if you just follow the trend of your purchasing power is constantly growing, far more than you could ever hope the US tech stocks to do, your purchasing power, if you're measuring your purchasing power in Bitcoin, it would make sense to save in something that's actually growing in value over time.
Mm-hmm.
So the real metric of whether I'm growing my wealth, I should be measuring it in the hardest, scarcest, most durable asset in the world, and that's Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's not about just buying yourself a house. I think you could buy a house for all the generations in your lineage, because it's just going to continue to expand and grow at that. While I think the cost of housing is going to be plummeting here, because I'm of the school that the investment dollars are getting ready to vacate the real estate market as they wake up to the real risk-off asset of Bitcoin instead of a real estate piggy bank. You may just be better off having a Bitcoin piggy bank.
If you remember Saylor's presentation comparing the various asset classes, he talked about in his chart showing how Bitcoin was yielding you roughly 60% a year. He shows inflation coming in right around 9 to 10%, and real estate barely beats inflation at 10%. And that's if you have nothing go wrong. That assumes that you have no bad tenants, you have your house doesn't catch on fire.
No
It assumes
hurricanes.
nothing goes wrong. You can get a 10% return if you're in a desirable area, or you have a fantastic rental property. But
That's right.
that comes with real world risks. All real world assets come with real risks attached to them. And you have none of those risks when it comes to Bitcoin.
Mother Nature. Oh, go ahead.
Bitcoin doesn't have the risks of real estate. So as people become looking for a superior store of value, they're going to be looking to weed out the risks that come with real estate and the hassle that comes with real estate. I can't tell you how many people really don't want to be landlords. They really don't want to have to deal with the hassle of a fifth, sixth property. Of course.
Yeah, it's terrible. Look, I've worked with landlords. I used to help my father manage his stuff, and it is a nightmare. And not to mention, the neighborhood could just go down. Like, you could start off living in a nice neighborhood, and then a bunch of non-Tesla owners move next to you, and that ruins the neighborhood. So you want to move where there's like nothing but Tesla owners and Bitcoiners. Those are the most pristine neighborhoods, destined to go up in value.
You won't have any noisy neighbors.
That's right. All right, so now we want to collect this asset constantly with every spare cent. But I love this this little thing you got cooking up here. Why don't you tell us what you've been cooking in the kitchen back there?
So back in the kitchen, I have this cliche that I was thinking about this cliche the other day. The average millionaire has 7 sources of income. So you have for example, a millionaire would have, say, a standard income. They'd have a couple rental properties. They would have maybe a couple businesses, dividend income. You're building all these different streams of income to help you get to a large number.
A couple of wage slaves working for you, some people into debt for money you've lent them, some peasants working on your property,
Serfs.
Serfs.
So I was running with this cliche of the average millionaire has 7 sources of income. And so I started thinking, well, the average Bitcoiner, they usually only think about, the only thing I can do is go on an exchange and just go lump sum buy when I feel it in my gut, or dollar cost average with a regular buy every day, week, or month.
Shout out to the dollar cost averagers.
DCA gang.
Mm-hmm.
But no, really, I built on that idea and just said, let's go run with how do I find 7 sources of Bitcoin flow? And if I'm going to start measuring my wealth in the strongest store of value the world has ever seen, I should be looking into ways that I can grow my balance over time. So the first one I have is lump sum dollar cost average, the time-tested method of buying the same dollar amount every day, week, or month,
Or
averaging, or even hour, to lower your average purchase cost over time. So buying the same dollar amount, for those that don't know, allows you to buy more when the price dips and less when the price spikes. This is a set it and forget it strategy. And exchanges like River and Strike offer low or even zero fees after the first week of setting up a recurring buy. So that's the first strategy that everybody really seems to be familiar with.
Yeah, and Strike and River offer that to where you can have it take X amount of dollars out of your bank account every month, and then it just buys on the schedule that you set. You can toggle it to, like you said, every hour, every day, every week, every month, a certain amount, and then you just treat it like a bill. You never even see it. That's kind of the smartest way to convert your excess income into the strongest asset on earth.
Once you're aware, it's kind of the easy default option. And so for anybody that's new to Bitcoin, if you come to one of our meetups, this is what we're going to tell you to do. It's what I suggest for you, given that you've done the research, obviously, that you've read about Bitcoin, that you're aware. We're not pushing anybody to go buy anything that they don't already understand and appreciate. So that's lump sum dollar cost average is just the first well-known source.
That's when you get your tattoo. Your Bitcoin tattoo comes with your first lump sum investment.
Gotta hit those lows.
That's right.
When you get in your gut, the smash buy.
That's right. How do you do your smash buys? When you just get a lump sum from whatever, do you just throw it all in at that moment? You don't even try to time it?
I actually look for hefty dips. And if we get, so for example, I remember last year there was a dip below 60. I scrambled to get enough cash together to get a good smash buy in sub 60. Just like right now, for example, our recent all-time high was 109. And so I'd consider smash buying anywhere around 80K. You see it drop below 80K, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I would not hesitate at these prices, not financial advice.
Right. I mean, you could be of the camp that you buy high, sell low, which is what a lot of people are panicking right now doing. Unfortunately, like Jack Mahler said, don't let it shake you out or break you out or something along those lines.
Unfortunately, those people are just transferring their Bitcoin to people that understand it better.
Yes. Well, you know, that famous phrase comes to mind: Bitcoin moves to stronger and stronger hands.
That is absolutely true. I can't disagree with that one bit.
Yeah.
So moving on to my second source of BTC flow is MicroStrategy shares. So this is a lesser known option. And as I'm sure most of your listeners would know, MicroStrategy is the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world. Right now, they have 499,000 and change Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And so every single MicroStrategy common shareholder has each share linked to a certain amount of Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So you take the way that strategy, MicroStrategy, and now known as strategy, measures their performance is through the key performance metric called Bitcoin yield. So if they can grow their Bitcoin holdings per share every year, that's the true metric of adding value for their shareholders for them. So for example, in 2024, MicroStrategy or strategy had a Bitcoin yield of 74%. That means if you started the year with a certain number of shares. By the end of the year, the Bitcoin per each share of common stock you had went up by 74%. That's incredible. And so the Bitcoin yield is the Bitcoin owned on the balance sheet divided by the outstanding diluted number of shares.
Mhm.
So strategy has been very upfront, and on their website, you can go and clearly look at. It's not just I'm going to go look at their financial. They have beautiful, clean, simplistic dashboards to help anybody understand how they are creating value for their investors. And so the strategy website is all you really need to understand that they're not trying to hide this from you. This is the opposite of a Ponzi scheme. MicroStrategy is almost like a financial alchemist of Wall Street. They're converting super low or non-interest debt and equity shares of the company into funds to purchase the hardest, strongest asset in the world for their shareholders.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
MicroStrategies really is, and then I didn't know if you were planned on saying this, but I'd like you to say a little bit about how they're allowing so many different avenues to have Bitcoin exposure, not just the buying their stock, or not just, what we have is just buy the actual underlying asset, take custody of your Bitcoin, which is what I recommend for everybody. But a lot of people have these buckets of money that are stuck in 401ks or in some other way. They have to keep it in the market so they can, but they still have control over what it buys in the market. And MicroStrategies is offering just a lot more ways to get into Bitcoin through his company, right?
yeah. And I'm really excited to talk with you, hopefully in our next podcast, in depth about MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy has built out a portfolio of products that allow institutions or public companies or retail investors to get exposure to Bitcoin with less or more volatility than Bitcoin itself. So you have the portfolio ranges. So at the bottom end, you have the most recently debuted this week called Strife. It is a fixed income product offering 10% yield, and it's just like a normal bond. So you start with fixed income at the bottom, 10% yield. Then you have like a convertible. You have convertible bonds, which are bonds with an embedded call option. So those bonds, you'd essentially be paying full price for a bond, and at a strike price, usually 40 to 50% higher than the current price, you would have the option of converting into common stock. So that's the next product up. It's called Strike, STRK. And so after that, you'd move up to the MicroStrategy equity, which approximates Bitcoin's performance at 1.5 to 2x. So it's more volatile than Bitcoin. And above that, you have leveraged ETFs on top of MicroStrategy. And even on top of that, you have options. But those are very niche products. Most people, that's for rarefied air, the people that are really into trading options, into trading leverage ETFs.
And he's also opening the door for not just individuals, but he's opening the door for institutions, which are bound by theses that they have to stick to. So they're not allowed to go outside. Like, they can't just see that MicroStrategies is a great deal and it's a big runner. They're like, well, I could only ever put 5% of my portfolio into anything I truly believe in. The other 95%, maybe 10 has to go into bonds, 10 have to go into, some of these other products that you have. So if MicroStrategies does not have a way to have exposure to the bond market, then $300 trillion worth of bond capital on planet Earth can never touch Bitcoin. So he's giving that one bucket of money a way in.
Everyone on Earth that has a large investment fund is clamoring for the kind of returns that MicroStrategy has given their investors through some sort of exposure to Bitcoin. And the real problem is like you said, these institutions are bound. Some institutions can only buy convertible bonds. Some can only buy common stock. Some can only buy fixed income. But the products that MicroStrategy is selling are exactly what the market wants, and the market's eating it up.
Yeah.
They can't get enough of the convertible bonds, for example.
Yeah.
And so offering a flavor for every institution, offering a product that fits their needs better than anyone else. And that's a great way to attract new capital and to acquire the funds necessary to continue their strategy of Bitcoin acquisition. So MicroStrategy's performance in this key metric of Bitcoin yield per share was actually measured really well on a website called a MSTR Tracker. And so you can go track for each common share of common stock you have, how many sats, or it's measured in Bitcoin, but 0.000167, for example, 167,000 sats per share. And you can watch it over time as they acquire more Bitcoin, that the Bitcoin per share is going up drastically. And so that is one way to get BTC flow. And this is my second of my 7 that I actually had planned for you tonight.
Yes.
It's one of the ways that you can get it. For example, if you have a 401k with trapped capital, you would hope to get it under your own control, get a self-directed IRA, and have the option to do your research, and if it's right for you, make that leap.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel on MicroStrategy for tonight.
Yep. I love how he has all the flavors. He's like the Baskin and Robbins of the Bitcoin community. He's got 32 flavors and then some. So go to your local MicroStrategies dealer and load up on all the different flavors that you need. All right. So next, this is one of my favorite ones that I don't use. So, but you do. So you have a lot more authority here because I'm all talk on this one.
I'll get on my soapbox for this one. So
I'm just all talk. He's got street cred in this route.
A lot of the problems that people have, and I understand most people don't have a savings rate that's like really high. So most people aren't saving 25, 30, 40, 50% of their income. They're looking at, I could save maybe 5% of my income this month. And even if they can't save anything that month, because I mean, look at inflation lately. People are barely saving money. People are struggling to get by. What's the option to get Bitcoin exposure for the people that are on really tight budgets? And I mean really tight. So if you say, I have $0 available to lump sum buy or dollar cost average, how do I get ahead? How do I grow my stack of sats? So one of the best routes is credit cards. So Gemini, an exchange run by the Winklevoss twins of Facebook fame, Gemini offers a credit card with rewards in Bitcoin, and they offer this credit card has the terms of it were 4% Bitcoin back on gasoline up to $200 a month, 3% on bars and restaurants and fast food, 2% on groceries, and 1% on everything else.
Wow.
And so you could spend, for example, if you transitioned to making that your main credit card, you can get Bitcoin back on every single transaction you do.
Sign up for Gemini.
Sign up for a Gemini card. It's great. And so you'll actually have the rewards pile up in this Gemini account, and you would just send them off to a hardware wallet whenever they build up to a large enough amount.
Is Gemini Bitcoin only?
No, unfortunately not, but it was the best credit card with rewards available that I've found.
I know Coinbase has a card and you can get cash back in Bitcoin, but it's not at those percentages. I think it's like 1% in Bitcoin.
Yeah, they're kind of stiffing you on that because they're Coinbase and they feel like they can.
Yeah,
we don't like Coinbase.
They're all snobby.
Coinbase bad.
That's it. We're not going to give them any more credit.
No Coinbase for you.
No,
No Coinbase for you.
they're dead to me.
So
All right.
the Gemini credit card is one option. And it's right now, I think it's the best option on the market in terms of credit cards. There is an upcoming Fold credit card. So Fold was a company started by Will Reeves, the CEO, and he started it about 6 years ago. And it was started with a debit card that would allow you to treat it just like any normal checking account. And you would essentially get back a 1.5% on every swipe.
Right.
And he would, in this app, the Fold app that goes along with your debit card, you would have the option, kind of like Acorns, to do roundups, dollar cost averaging. It was an exchange built into a debit card. And if, for example, you didn't have any credit, or if you just had this debit card, you can get Bitcoin rewards. You can get a SAT flow to you even with zero credit. So that's how they started. The Fold credit card is currently supposed to roll out in the next 2 to 3 months. I'm on a wait list for it. I'm excited. They're going to offer 2% rewards on everything. So they're doubling the rewards that you would have gotten on everything at Gemini, but you'd use a Gemini card ideally for gas, restaurants, and you'd use this Fold card for everything else and get double the Bitcoin rewards that the Gemini card would offer you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of optimize your reward percentages between those two cards. This is kind of how I've gamed that, or I plan to game that. And so you'd have the optimize where you're only using a Gemini credit card and a Fold credit card. And so that's the strategy with credit cards. You're going to go do all your normal spending. So say I have zero disposable income, but I know I'm going to spend money this month. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting those rewards and I'm stacking them up.
Right. And this can be a pretty large sum because you figure, I don't know, what's a grocery bill a month for the sane person? Is it like 300 a month?
300, 400 bucks on groceries is easy.
Yeah, let's go 400 a month. So that's 48. Let's just say $5,000 just to play it safe. That's 5,000. So even that, what you said, 2%?
2% on groceries.
So that's $100. Did I do that right? 50. Yeah. So it's $100 in Bitcoin for just change of behavior on one bill. And then how many other bills can you stack up? Your electric bill, all the other bills you're getting 1% of, and then fuel.
4% back on gasoline up to $200 a month. That's great. I mean, like,
for those of you still riding horses out there, aka gas vehicles, yes, you get 4%.
And 3% at restaurants. I get excited about that. I mean, I can't tell you, I'm always pumped to use my Gemini card every time I go to a restaurant. I'm 3% back on this. Okay.
That's it. And what is it, 2% on bars and food and stuff like that, or 3%?
It's 4% on gasoline, 3% on bars, restaurants, and fast food, 2% on groceries. And
shout out to all the alcoholics out there. Now y'all get 3% back in Bitcoin in addition to your beers.
You should be using your Gemini card at proof of drink.
Yes, absolutely. You should come by, Mr. Mark, a beer for bringing this great community together in Baton Rouge. Yeah,
and buy Daniel a beer too. He's going to be taking out that bill for our next trip up to Nashville. So.
Oh, that was so kind of him. He one of our esteemed members, Daniel, decided to treat the entire state of Louisiana Bitcoiners to go up to Nashville for a couple day getaway. So we're going to take him up on that. We got to find a resort hotel for him.
Didn't he say to buy the first round of drinks too?
Yeah. And I told him I'd bring the chips for the whole party.
Perfect.
If you want to bring the popcorn, queso and chips, we got it covered. All right. So next, moving on, the number 4 source of BTC flow I had was the Fold checking and debit card. This sounds like kind of a no-brainer after I talked about the credit cards, but check this out. You get a Fold debit card, like I explained earlier. Not only if you do use it like a normal debit card, you are getting a 1.5% back. However, if you use the account and routing numbers of your Fold debit card to pay your credit card bills, depending on the amount you spend,
if you spend anywhere between $0 and $20,000 a month, which they had as a crazy option, I'm guessing people spend that. You'll get a percentage back. So the range was between 0.25% and all the way up to 1.5%. I don't think most people are going to get the 1.5%, but to get between 0.25% and 0.5% back for paying my credit card bill that I'm already getting Bitcoin rewards on.
Nice.
So I'm getting rewards for paying my bills that I'm getting rewards for paying my bills.
We need to see how many layers we can do this. Can we get another credit card to pay off that credit card to pay off the bills that we paid off a credit card with?
I think the catch is you have to pay off the credit card with a debit card. I think, unfortunately.
This is like New Orleans doubloons. They're just like throwing this stuff out there. Sats for everybody. You get a sat, and you get a sat, and you get a sat.
We should call this the sat snowball.
That's it. This is a sat storm.
Sat
storm.
All right. So number 4, fold debit card.
Love it.
Use banking and routing information to pay off Gemini and or fold credit card. Acquire 0.25 to 0.5 interest for paying off your credit card. Imagine getting rewarded in Bitcoin for simply paying your credit card. You're going to pay it anyway. Might as well get some sats.
Here's another way to do it. You can offer when somebody has cash at the bars and restaurants, say, look, well, I'll pay the bill. You just give me the cash. And then you get to increase the amount of money that you're paying with the Bitcoin card. And then for that matter, you could find a lot of people that would just be able to pay their bills, and then they pay you, and then maybe you get some Bitcoin for them if they don't want the Bitcoin. There's plenty of Bitcoin out there to be had.
Strategy.
That's right. All right. Moving forward.
So my 5th option on the BTC flow, and this is one that almost no one's heard of, and I don't think anybody else I know uses this besides somebody else in River. The Bitcoin exchange River offers BTC interest on your cash balance.
Who keeps cash? Oh, that's right. Because some people keep cash inside their River account.
Yeah. So if you need an emergency fund, this is the incredible part about this. You need cash to handle any sort of emergency or just have a cash kind of cushion.
Mm-hmm.
I found a way to get interest paid in Bitcoin on my cash reserve. So not only are you getting Bitcoin back on every single transaction you do, Bitcoin for paying your credit card, Bitcoin now on your cash reserve. So River has in their cash balance. So it's an FDIC insured account, and it's just like any sort of other insured account up to $250,000, and the cash deposited on your River exchange account, you get 3.8% per year interest paid in Bitcoin. It's paid out monthly. It'll appear very small, but the amount of interest that you're getting paid, 3.8%, is actually pretty high. If you go look at the average interest paid on a checking account, it's somewhere between 0.2 and 0.3%. I'm getting you 10x that.
In Bitcoin. That's growing.
In Bitcoin, that's growing. Yes. So getting that kind of interest is already great if it was in cash. If you're getting that kind of interest paid in Bitcoin, that's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the next level. And the debit card, credit card, cash reserves are the easily tappable ways to get BTC flow. The easiest ways. If you're already dollar cost averaging, fantastic. These are the next steps. These are the next steps along your path to growing your stack.
I love it. That's a good one. I need to do this. See, I don't have my River. I have my River account. I need to start using it more in this way.
Yeah, you really should. I strongly recommend it. And so my final 2 options for BTC flow. They're kind of niche. I wasn't expecting people to really gravitate towards these compared to the other ones. You have home mining, and in two separate ways. The first way was via a mining pool. So you'd go and you'd buy, for example, a home designated miner that's quiet and runs on 120 volt outlet, and you would go mine via ocean mining or brains in a pool, and you'd hopefully have a miner large enough to get you a decent reward. I mean, we're not talking about a tiny baby miner. You need something that's something along the lines of 20 terahash or more. So a full-size miner, for people that don't know, is around 100 terahash. So this, you would want something that's about a fifth, maybe. So somewhere between 20 and 50 terahash, because the larger industrial miners aren't made for home environments. They're too loud. They don't have the right plugs, and they're just not designed for that environment. You want a home design miner, and they're somewhere between $500 and $2,000. And you can really learn how to use those by getting your base knowledge up with the Bitcoin Miner's Almanac by Robert Warren. It's a great book, and it's on the BTC Magazine website.
Yeah.
But that's one of the ways to get a passive BTC flow. It does come with a lot of caveats, because you're going to have to learn that's a whole new world.
Yeah.
And before you dive into that and make that investment, you really got to make sure that you understand what you're getting into, because it is a real energy cost. And you have to figure out, at what point am I profitable, what point am I not profitable,
Right.
and understand when to come on and off. You have to be much more aware. It's not a set it and forget it kind of process.
Yeah. And look, guys, if you're kind of a tinkerer, if you like working on small lawnmowers and machines and cars and stuff like that, then you can definitely do a decent sized mining rig. And my son runs a mining course for like $100, and it's like a 9-week course, and you will be a pro and have all the connections and resources you need to do home mining. And you can do it for as little as you can just use 100 watts of 220, which is quite a nice little rig. That's probably like 3 or 4 S19 or larger miners. And there is one theory that you should get you some old S19 miners just to have, in case we have supply shock and Bitcoin goes to the moon. There's not going to be any miners for sale, and even the slower ones will be profitable. And then secondly, if you are heating something like a pool, you can submerge these things in dielectric fluid and with a heat sink. You can heat a full-size hot tub. I've seen them done up in Nashville. Just a couple of ASICS miners will heat a hot tub. And then some people would like drive beef jerky. And there's even some businesses that are heating all these massive saunas and hot tubs and everything using Bitcoin miners, because they convert electricity to heat very efficiently. And at that point, a byproduct is pretty much Bitcoin. And there's also a few companies up north that I'm close to that will, if your heater is going out and you live up north, they use Bitcoin miners to generate the whole entire home's heat. And so that way you're already paying this massive electric bill just to get some Bitcoin out of it. You're already needing hot water just to get some Bitcoin out of it. And so there are some ways for you to just learn to tinker and turn waste heat or heat that you need in your home into Bitcoin in that way, using these miners. If you're interested in that, hit me up in the DMs and I'll connect you with Brad. Shout out to Brad.
Well, Craig, that's fascinating. You just said like 5 different things that I'm already interested in.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Well, mining is kind of what interested in me in Bitcoin. And then I had a couple of really good mining friends. One of them does like a big mining summit at most of the major Bitcoin gatherings in America. So if you're into mining and you go to Nashville or Las Vegas, you're going to see a ton of mining rigs and contractors and stuff like that. So definitely check that out if you're interested.
Yeah, I'd be even interested in that mining course that you talked about. I'm so used to seeing everything talked about in terms of the scale being industrial, where there really needs to be more courses on home mining and how to build that out. So that's why I personally don't have a whole lot available for you on home mining. It was just the theory of it there.
Yeah, I really think that you're going to start seeing space heaters and clothes dryers use Bitcoin miners as all that low tech comes, or that technology becomes cheaper and cheaper. Clothes dryers will just be like little money printers, because you need to generate that heat, but it's totally wasted. And you could be mining Bitcoin with that heat generation instead of just having a heat sink. I mean, not a heat sink, but like a heating coil.
That's fantastic. My last item for BTC Flow here, which I don't think I've told you about this one some. Home mining, but not via pool, home mining via lottery. And so this one's kind of near and dear to my heart because it's the only one that I've really gotten invested in so far. I have
BitX.
So I actually got into it with Solo Satoshi. Shout out to Solo Satoshi in Houston. He is a small retailer, probably not very small anymore. He sells the BitX Gamma and NerdX and a bunch of other small modular miners that are no bigger than my hand.
Yes.
They're fantastic. And the newest generation of the Gammas does twice as much hashing as the previous Supra. And I love tinkering with them. The more I get invested in it, it's kind of like you have like a little farm. You have a tiny little, like a group of like a few of them, and you're like, man, how do I make these better? You're just looking at them run, and you're like, that's incredible. How do I make them run faster, better, do more work, quiet? It's a whole rabbit hole of how do I overclock these things and push them to their limits while still making it maintainable and kind of low maintenance.
Shout out to Scott, a former guest on the show, the inventor, engineer, founder of the little BitX, open sourced it so that you can just basically make your own. And then I think there's other companies that are just making his little invention. I don't know if you did you know how that works by any chance?
So it's free and open source. So there's a group called Open Source Miners United, and they are a free open source community around developing the BitX platform and building out these boards and designing them to be more efficient, to do more work, to make specialized versions. And it's all free. So you open source everything. So you're putting it out on sites like GitHub. You're sharing the files to build everything. There's none of this, I'm keeping it to myself. No, you're contributing to a community of people that also know better than you how to fix or optimize whatever you're working on. And so it's a really incredible dynamic community of constant self-improvement. And so you'll see people tinkering with their BitXs. And I say tinkering, they're optimizing. They're going to put a fan here, a special heat sink here, testing them out rigorously to try to see how do I optimize to the nth degree the performance of this BitX. So for even a BitX with one chip from a larger ASIC, they can get so much power, and trying to make that modular and scale it down to where the average person can go buy this for sub $200 is incredible. And it makes it unintimidating for the smaller user. Like, you're starting with one chip, one fan, one heat sink on a board that's no bigger than my hand, that you can put on your desk, and with you put a quiet fan on it, you won't even know it's there.
Yeah, and you could win $350-ish, $40-ish thousand.
That's the fun part.
That's the fun part.
And you can go calculate your odds, or something like their websites. You can go calculate your odds based on your hashing power and see, oh, well, my odds are about 100 times better than winning the Powerball, but hey, I'd still take that over the Powerball.
Yeah, because you're contributing to the freedom of mankind.
And we're decentralizing the hash rate.
That's right.
Contributing, doing our part to contribute to the network.
Making it stronger.
Yeah, stronger. And so more secure. So if I'm already stacking Bitcoin, I want to do my part to take care of the network. And as small as that is, every single small miner is still contributing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a game of, oh, you have a whole warehouse of miners. Every single person that buys a little BitAxe and starts running it not only has the possibility of winning a whole block, they're contributing the security of the Bitcoin that they buy and hold.
Yep.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah. And guys, for those of you that are coders, hackers, tinkers, computer scientists, just little inventors in your garage, Scott, that's all he was, and that released this initial open source code. And there are actually lots of groups of Bitcoiners that have put together funding. And if you write a little paper with your idea, which is exactly what Scott did, I need to get him back on the show. And he said, here's what I'd like to do. I need $50,000, and I'm going to spend the next 6 to 12 months developing this at-home plug-in where you learn everything. And then he uploaded all the engineering schematics and shows how to put up one together and how to 3D print everything. And then he won, and he never expected to. And so he got a grant, and then he spent like 6 to 8 months doing this for the community, and then just gave it to the world. And so that's just one of like 800 other developers working on Bitcoin in some fashion similar to that are just working on solutions, working on projects, whether they're hardware, software. So if you're interested in that, there are people that will support you in doing this and give you scholarships, because it's making the whole network better. It's making the whole community better. So if that's something that interests you, hit me up in the DMs and I'll connect you to some of those groups of people.
Yeah, Scott has such an incredible story, and he's an inspiration to everyone out there, because he's making what was previously unapproachable approachable by taking the Bitcoin miner and doing what people thought was impossible, of building it down to a scale where it could be distributed is such a huge deal for the network.
We need to come up with, we need to write a paper to get funding to make a Bitcoin hot tub.
I'm for it.
We can sell Bitcoin hot tubs or Bitcoin clothes dryers. How about that?
Hey, that would be good. Clothes dryers, everybody uses clothes dryers, even down here.
That's right. I don't know anybody that just walks around wet clothes. They usually have a dryer next to every washer I've ever seen. I mean, there were those times where you would hang them out to dry, but I don't think anybody does that anymore.
I'm waiting for somebody to hook up a couple BitAxes to their clothes dryer. That'd be great.
That's it. Make a big hair dryer too. I'd be a big client on that one. All right. So
salon BitAxe mining farm.
That's right. You got the big salon thing to come on and dry your hair. You see the women with the big hair.
With a BitAxe next to it.
That's right.
It'll be pink, of course.
Oh yeah. I mean, you gotta win in Rome. All right. So I do have one more to maybe add that I heard today on Jack Mahler's Monday. If you don't watch his Monday 6 p.m. Eastern show on YouTube live, you're missing out. So I encourage everybody to listen to him. He does a little podcast, goes live on Monday, 6 p.m. But he's the founder of Strike. And he said today, you don't ever have to sell your Bitcoin. If you've got Bitcoin and you need some cash for a new car, or your car broke, so you need to replace it, maybe tough times, or maybe you have a business idea, and so you've gone so hard into Bitcoin, you've got nothing left. Okay, so you're all in, and then something happens, and you have to sell your Bitcoin. And I, like Jack, believe that nobody wants to sell their Bitcoin. They have to sell their Bitcoin. Otherwise, why would they be selling it? So they must be in some kind of pinch, or they just have something they have to do. They need cash. Well, he's like, leave your Bitcoin in there. He offers a Bitcoin-backed loan. So you collateralize the loan with your Bitcoin, and you can toggle between two options. Option number one, you pay whatever his interest rate is. So I'm making up a number, 10%. So, let's just say you borrow $100,000 and you're going to pay 10% monthly or something like that. So say $800 a month to repay the note. Or you can just say, add that 800 to the principal every month. So then that 100,000 turns into 100,000 and $800. And then month by month, it increases by 800. But your Bitcoin, the backing asset, is growing by 60% a year. So who cares if your loan is growing by 10% a year, because the thing that's backing is growing by 60% a year. So you're actually getting richer, and you're never even having to pay the loan back, and you still get your cash.
Incredible.
And that's going to be, he's rolling that out, I think, first or second week of April.
Wow.
And if you get on his podcast and hit him up in the DMs and say, hey, I'd like to try it, and you're already a Strike user, he's giving access to early access to people that are in the chats. So chat him up.
Got to check that one out.
So there's number 8. And I'm sure we can come up with some more. If you know of some more and you're listening to this, first of all, go subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I need to get the subscribers up so I can go live on YouTube. And then share this with everybody. And then drive to Baton Rouge on first Tuesdays of the month and come hang out with us at the Bulldog at from 6 to 9, where we're going to do this podcast. So you'll be able to see Morgan again. Or actually, I was hoping you want to do this again next Thursday, because you've got 2 other parts to this.
Yeah, we can work out something for the next 2 weeks. I'm really excited to build on this foundation. I sent you a picture earlier before we started the show. Back in the early days of the internet, the protocol for the internet was IP/TCP, and people weren't able to invest in the underlying protocol of the internet. You were only able to really invest in the applications built on top of them that you're now familiar with: Amazon, Google, Apple, etc. All the companies of the internet that have now blossomed to become the mega trillion-dollar Mag 7 corps.
Right.
But with Bitcoin, you now have the opportunity to actually invest in the roots, the protocol here of the Bitcoin network, by owning the currency, the Bitcoin currency. And we're going to build the floor for this new ecosystem around MicroStrategy being the new kind of concrete floor of our city. And then on top of it, the applications for all the companies that are going to build out the infrastructure for Bitcoin are going to be the mining companies, the financial companies, the all the different companies out there that are using Bitcoin as their main treasury products are companies that will build on that new ecosystem. And so I'm hoping to make this as part of a 3-part podcast series.
Well, yeah, let's stay in touch after this and just pick a day. Thursdays work good for me. I'm here every Thursday night, 9 p.m.
Sure.
So if that works for you, I'll be here. But really, any night, just let me know. I can send you a calendar link as well.
Sure. I look forward to talking with you next week.
All right, man. Well, we're going to go ahead and close it out. My Tesla's at 99%, so they're going to be booting me off the chair, and I've got to drive from Hattiesburg back to Louisiana. Good to be home. Thank you for Tennessee, everything Rod and them did at Bitcoin Park. If you haven't gone to Bitcoin Park or any BitDev meeting, a BitDev meeting is where the true brain trust of Bitcoin, the guys working on the front line, building all the hardware and software solutions, talking about the threats that are coming at Bitcoin and what they're going to do to stop them. It's super techy. These are like, as I said, the coding brain trust of the planet, and half of them are working on Bitcoin solutions. Nashville is a hub for that does a monthly Socratic seminar with these guys. I know there's one in Austin, there's one in New York, there's one in LA. Saylor is opening up a new one in Washington, D.C. He's got a whole floor that he's dedicating to that. And then they just recently started one in San Francisco, which had kind of formally closed down. So now San Francisco has another one. And a buddy of mine helps run one in Vancouver. So if you're ever in those areas, usually once a month, I suggest you go there to learn more about Bitcoin if you really want to get on the techie side. And even if you're not being around those guys, really, I think you just learn by osmosis. Like, they're smart, and hopefully their smartness just kind of rubs off on you a little bit. So you're a little smarter, hopefully, in Bitcoin world. All right. Any closing remarks for the community, Morgan?
I really appreciate you having me on and giving me this opportunity to share about how to increase your personal Bitcoin yield.
I love it, man.
Drive safe.
Yep. Fantastic. Great having you on. And guys, we will see y'all at 9:00 on Sunday is our next show. So talk to you then. Love you guys. Bye.
Take care.
Welcome to the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, where knowledge meets financial freedom. We're here to break down the world of Bitcoin. No fluff, no hype, just real talk about how this digital asset is reshaping the future of money. Inflation is stealing your purchasing power, but what if there was a way to fight back? Enter Bitcoin, the digital currency that empowers you to take control of your wealth. Ever wondered why your money doesn't stretch as far as it used to? At the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, we educate, inform, and inspire. From expert interviews to breaking news, we bring you everything you need to stay ahead in the Bitcoin community. Market updates, expert insights, real-world use cases, and practical tips to navigate the Bitcoin economy. So whether you're a seasoned Bitcoin investor or just getting started, this is your daily dose of Bitcoin wisdom. Don't miss out. Subscribe now, hit that bell icon, and let's break free from the chains of inflation, one Bitcoin at a time. The Daily Bitcoin Podcast, your gateway to financial freedom.